Eliminate the workplace excuse. That's what leaders do. This is the Career Blind Spot Podcast.
Courtney blind spot question. Juan, what are some red and green flags at work?
No, we didn't agree changing it to Courtney's blind question.
Hey, the last time I asked you a question, it was a Courtney blind spot question, so it's happening. Still CBQ.
Okay, fair. But also, I came up with the question. Anyway, red and green. So one of my biggest is, and it's not a bad thing. I mean, even red seems harsh, but when people give 2 weeks notice, I don't know why that's a thing still. I get it's a corporate default, but that doesn't really do anyone good, especially if you're good at your job. If you're just a replaceable cog, okay, yeah, fair, it's polite. But when's the last time someone checked up on you if you've had more than one job? Hey, how long of notice did you give?
Right.
I do understand, like, hey, you drop. If an employee just leaves, like, oh, man. But I can't tell you how many times I've asked people who are dealing with, maybe not toxic in their words, but a problematic employee. I said, you know what? If this person just didn't show up next week and said, I'm out, how would you feel? Yeah, it would be hard, but yeah, it'd be a relief. And so to me, it's like, notice same day if it's not a good fit with or just we need to break up. Or if you really like your, not just company, but the people you work with, your team, your boss, your peers, 2 weeks is not a lot to set them up and leave them better than you found them. And, every job is different. And if you give 2 weeks notice, I'm not saying if you have a team, but if you're a leader, that team to me tells me a lot about how your employees trust or don't trust you. And, in terms of what life is coming, are they looking for another job? Are they moving? I've heard countless stories where people, it's not 2 weeks notice, it's months in advance, or it is like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Whatever. So anyway, when I hear that 2 weeks notice is the norm, that is definitely not a green flag. And for those older people like myself, green is a good flag and is a good thing, and red is bad. I would say 2 weeks is not terrible, but it's definitely not impressive to me. I wouldn't say, hey, this is a great place to work solely for that metric.
Okay.
Or I'm just curious, did you ever give 2 weeks notice?
Yeah.
Did you always give 2 weeks notice?
Yes, but remember that I've only had one other grown-up job besides the job I have now, and that was Amex, and I gave the 2 weeks notice.
I mean,
but that was also, at the time, that was what you were supposed to do. It was still the rule.
But I don't think it is.
No, not now.
Even then, I don't think it is. I understand what you're saying. I'm not saying it wasn't told to us, but like, are there police? Like I said, do people check in on it?
No,
do you think
but mine was a little bit different because I was going to an American Express joint venture. So it was technically still within the company. So I had to do the 2 week
and
wind
also
out.
The boss you knew at the time was part of, or actually I can't remember, but there was connections there.
Right.
And so I wouldn't be surprised. We're talking over 10 years, right? No.
Yeah.
About
over,
eight.
Over
yeah,
10.
actually about 10, yeah. If you did give more, or at least there was notice, like, hey, these things are going on. We might be taking Courtney out of this department. It's not technically Amex, but it's technically a blah, 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 all these things.
Right.
And that's my point is, if it's just the default, hey, I gave 2 weeks notice, or because when you got to lay off people, I don't think the norm is 2 weeks that you give them. So anyway, again, in terms of, is this a great team? Is this a great work environment? If you're a leader and your employees are always giving 2 weeks notice, it's not the worst thing. I just don't think it's a great thing. That implies that, hey, there's a dynamic here that I could improve if I wanted. And what I would say is a good thing is people, quit same day, or they say, hey, I'm thinking about leaving, or I'm good at this job. It pays me well, but I'm kind of bored. I think that is a really good thing, that from a leadership perspective, maybe from a reality of that, hey, I might lose this person, but that's how you retain someone who's good at their job. Right. They're letting you know something's missing, but I don't think you can necessarily change the job for everyone who wants to leave.
What's another one?
Yeah. So thank you. So the other one is vacation. First of all, does your team take vacation? Because if they don't, again, not saying it's terrible, or if everyone has to be told to take it in December.
Yeah. Tell me why that's a red flag.
But do you want them to be there every day? Not to say it's always going to be this binary, but would you ever have a team who shows up every day, never takes vacation all year until the end of the year, and gives you 70, 80% effort? Or would you rather have people who take their vacation sporadically in the summer, in the fall, etc. And they're giving you A+ effort. They're A+ results.
I would say A+ results,
I
I
would
guess, if you
think
think
so,
of it
right?
like that. Yeah.
But I think that a default is, especially when I was younger, it's like you save up your vacation and then you take it all, like,
Right.
which again is not wrong. If people aren't taking their vacation, that's a reflection of you as a leader. I still have to say this to family members, less clients, but it's like you are owed your vacation and your sick time. You are not a great, honorable person for not taking it.
Right.
You know, there's that story of the Burger King guy who never missed a sick day. And the company gave him like $100 gift certificate after like 50 years.
Oh, God.
As a leader, when your people take vacation, that is a reflection that they are self-care, personally accountable. Now, I'm not saying
it's
all the time.
self-care. And also, I feel like they respect and trust their leader to take time off. Because if you don't trust your leader to make sure that your stuff is covered while you're out, you're not going to take the time off because you don't want to come back to a bigger mess.
When is, again, every industry and company, et cetera, is different. If the default, and I'm being very general here, but we all take it during the holidays, which, okay, I get it. But is that your busy season? When do you want people taking vacation? Especially your best people. How about you take it when we're not super busy?
Right.
And that's the what do you call it? The off season. That's when you recover. That's if you're an Olympian, yeah, you're training all the time, but you also rest. And so another sign of not just the team, but you. If you're a leader and you're never taking vacation, you're not Superman. You might feel like you have to be, but the clock is ticking, dude. And so to me, the good sign that if you are taking it doesn't guarantee your team will. I know actually quite a few leaders who do. They're the ones doing self-care, but there's a mixed message or somehow the team doesn't follow suit. And I think part of that is, hey, I might take vacation, but I'm still working. I'm still checking. That's not vacation, man.
One. Yeah.
And so again, if everyone shows up every day and never I'm not saying that you're a bad company, but if I'm a leader and I'm looking for sustained high performance, I also realize it's not going to happen every day. And okay, is C- good enough? Most of us are not looking for 5-star hamburgers for lunch today. But if you're a leader and you're committed and you are ambitious, the team who takes strategic vacations and they actually go unplug and do what's best for them, or even like with the remote work, they are not constantly like, well, I had to go pick up my kids. Da, 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 da. No, they're more intentional about it.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm going to do this, but I'm going to go get my kids for this, or I'm going to go to the nail salon, or I'm going to go to the gym, whatever. But my stuff's done.
Yeah.
As a proactive employee who is saying, I have personal boundaries and I'm getting my work done, versus at the end of the year, oh, I guess I got to take my 2 weeks off.
I had a leader who was terrible at taking time off whenever she would be on vacation. And recently she changed it so she takes a 1-week trip every quarter and she checks in every 3 days. So she doesn't check in every single day now. She actually takes time with her family to go hang out and have fun. But then she does touch base.
Especially in the remote world, it's hard. I remember when I got my first iPhone, it wasn't the first generation, but it was like it was very early. And I was like, I can put my work email on my phone. They weren't paying me to answer emails at home.
Right.
And yet and now it's like, what the heck? But I think especially not just with the remote, but if you're looking for high performance, and I really challenge a lot of organizations that, hey, I want someone to do good, but we don't need someone to crush it all the time. We might say that, but really, if I could get a solid B performance out of someone, then yeah, I'd rather them not take vacation. I'd rather blah, blah, blah. But the iPhone, I'm like, I like to be in a remote employee. I remember here's a correlation. People who like their job fit don't take a lot of sick days, which is ironic, which I think is great that they're not getting as sick. The other way to put it is people who are not a good fit for the job tend to use all their sick days. Now here I am in a paradox because I think everyone should take their sick time, everyone, including leaders, and it was there was another meme from the internet. It's like people should also have health days where it's like, I feel too great to go to work and I don't want to waste it on a job. And so I think, again, not a red flag. If your team never takes sick, if they take them all, I'm not saying it's terrible. It's a sign of the dynamic. And there's a quote, not mine, or a phrase. What's the most productive work day? Do you know?
No.
The day before vacation.
Oh.
Because most employees don't want to be called in contact. So we have this kind of different version of now, like, hey, yeah, I want to go on vacation, but also I want to show I'm a hard worker, so I'm going to check in. And is it really necessary? Especially if you're a leader, are you undercutting? You're constantly calling the kids at home, making sure the
Right.
party's not there. And so, like, what is the real intention? And this is, this podcast is not about subpar performance or just surviving. I relate to those people, but I'm like, if you're listening to this, you're looking for a better way to do work. So the last one, conflict. Conflict is inevitable. Our last podcast, we were talking about our own conflict here. But when people are never fighting or it's lopsided positivity, like if I hear one call and there's 3 buzzwords in the first 5 minutes, I'm like, oh God. Again, it's not terrible, but I'm like, oh, this team is not a team. It's fragmented versus when people are arguing openly and, there's being rude and et cetera. But there's also just like, hey, Courtney, you did this wrong. You dropped the ball. Or hey,
Right.
Juan, blah, blah, blah. That is healthy conflict.
Right.
Because there's problems at work and we have to deal with them. And we're different humans with different skill sets. We're going to disagree on what's urgent, what's necessary, the order of operations. That's why we're a team. So if you're never arguing, you're never having debate, yet
You're
alone
not
healthy
engaged.
debate, you're not engaged and the status quo is going to fester. And that might be fine. But again, if you're trying to do better at work, that is a big, I will say that's a red flag.
Yeah, if you're trying to lead better at work.
Generic positivity, people who don't, and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying every argument is healthy and constructive, but no arguments.
It means your people don't care about their work and
Yeah.
you're not doing anything to make them care about their
Yes.
work.
Yes. And so, again, I think the first couple, they're not necessarily red flags, but they're not green flags. Whereas to me, I would call no arguments, no conflict. Actually, that is conflict. That's stagnant. That's
Yes.
like a flesh wound that I can smell it when I walk
Ew.
in. That's disgusting to me.
Okay.
When I think of what leaders are capable of, I'm like, why are you doing this? Why are you allowing this?
Right.
And there's a lot of nuance. So yeah, I just burned through my list. There's a lot of others, but those are the biggest ones that right off the bat gives me a doctor diagnosis of like, okay. And not to say there's not superstars, not to say there's not an individual or a subgroup,
Right.
but it's what now I get to help the leader be like, okay, hey, so not, or the call to action, kind of jump ahead as we wrap up here, is think about what your standards are. Like maybe 2 weeks notice, you're like, hey, Juan, I hear you, but no, we like that. We want people. But I encourage you to be blunt with a trusted resource who knows your environment and share these flags and where you would like to see them. Maybe 3 weeks notice is a sweet spot. Maybe 6 months. I don't know the dynamic. But someone else who knows could say like, no, that's unreasonable. Like, it'd be great if you had a month to transition someone else out. Or, you know what? Yeah, you're right. On the Zoom calls, half the people have their video off, or so-and-so talks a lot and it's positive, but 9 other people on the call don't engage and they're probably texting each other. I'm saying things that are relatable to a lot of people.
Oh, I thought you were calling me out specifically.
No, this
for
is
things you've seen me do.
No, this is every group of people. So yeah, ask someone to help you figure out what your standards are. Because if you don't know what they are, you're going to default to generic norms. And I grew up in an era where it's like, don't have tattoos. You can't get a job if you have tattoos. We see how that went.
Yeah.
Any flags from you?
No.
Party Pumas?
Party Pumas. Yeah.
What's a Party Puma, Connor?
You just call me Conan.
Conan? That's our son.
We're old. We keep calling each other the wrong names. Party Puma is, I don't like to be publicly recognized unless I feel like I did a really good job. And so anybody who comes to celebrate me and I don't feel like I did anything special, I just have been doing my job, is a Party Puma. They sneak up and celebrate you and I don't want it.
To me, it's for your definition, she's the first person who told me that. It's like, oh yeah, no one likes Party Pumas who's trying to do their work. It's a distraction. And it's, to your point, if you do a good job, you want credit.
Yes.
But if it's meaningless, like almost like, hey, it's your birthday, here's all this attention, it's kind of offensive.
It is.
Yeah, like no one said for you to, like it's, yeah, I think a Party Puma is a disease carrier of old workplace norms that not, again, inherently bad or wrong, but if you're someone trying to do your best work and you have your boundaries and all these other things, it's a huge distraction. And like, how do you tell them that? But I don't know. How would you react when they came around?
I would just be like, okay, thanks. And then, being shy would just make it worse because they'd be like, you should be excited. And I'm like,
Yeah. Oh,
this is not the attention that I want. I want you to come and tell me one-on-one. I want my boss to tell me like, hey, you did a really great job. That means so much to me. But don't come to my desk and be like, everybody look at Courtney. No thanks.
Yeah.
No, if I did a good job, I'll tell you I think I did a good job. But I don't need you to tell me.
You heard it here first. Let's see you for the next one.
Bye.
I make this show for leaders, those who don't point fingers, but point towards ways they can do better at work. My ask for listening is you share the show on social and or with other leaders, established or aspiring. Until then, no talent, no culture,